You put a Queensland jersey on Dane Gagai and he finds a way to score a try.
Cam Munster, he's going to be the one to watch.
He deserves a try.
Even though he's only young, he's such a big name, he's such a promising star.
Well, we've seen plenty of this in Origin. This is one of the best. McCartney will score.
And Queensland celebrates.
He smashed.
That's a brilliant rugby league try.
Chip chase anyone? No? Something different, mix it up.
Pride is a wonderful thing for a footballer.
G'day and welcome to this week's edition of Queensland with Maroon's legends Darren Lockyer and Sam Thaiday. Boys, how good is it going to be to have crowds back? Or conversely, how weird was it having no crowds at these Queensland games?
Well, I remember, I think it was round 2 last year, and it was the first time I've experienced no crowds, and that was really eerie and weird. I do want to give the teams and the players a rap though. Considering there's no crowds, I think the intensity and the performances from the teams has been very good. I've been quite surprised. I mean, we hear everything that the players say in commentary, but the intensity that some of the teams are playing at, that just shows how professional they are.
Yeah, no, it has been weird. I've had a bit of fun with it, to be honest, but it has been weird having no one in the stands. It actually makes it a little bit easier for Lockie and myself getting from our car park to where we are sitting on the sideline. We don't have to walk through the crowds. We don't have to sidestep anyone. So it's made it easy for us to do that transit. But in saying that too, it's a longer walk to go to the bathroom because there's no crowd there. The toilets right near where we sit aren't open, so we have to walk the long way. But it's going to be good to see some fans back in the stands, and that's what it's all about.
The Seabus on the weekend, I should have filmed it. He was, he was sitting in the stands.
I was cheering for the Cowboys.
Because my boy just cheering away. Didn't work.
No, it didn't work. I tried hard.
And as much as we've loved seeing games at Suncorp Stadium and Seabus, it's good that they get a little bit of a rest this week. They've taken some games to the Sunshine Coast, and Redcliffe gets 2 games. How good is that?
Well, Redcliffe would have been absolutely filthy because they just missed out. We went into a little snap lockdown last time. They were to host the game, so they'd be very happy to host this one. They got out on the front foot when they were going to host the first game, and there was a lot of publicity around it. So I think it's great. And football back on the Sunshine Coast. Melbourne Storm made it their home up there last season, and it was fantastic to see rugby league up there last year, and even better to see it up there again this year.
Yeah, I think if you look at Sunshine Coast and Redcliffe, 50% crowds at those stadiums, which they'll definitely get, will be a better atmosphere than 50% at Suncorp and 50% at Seabus, which I think they'd struggle to get. It's about the game giving back to the communities. I think the more regional you go, the more people love their rugby league. They don't get to see it every weekend, so it's a win-win for everyone.
And hopefully Rockhampton does get a game by the end of the season, because I think it was supposed to host Dragons, Rabbitohs. They cancelled it on the day of the game. So hopefully Brown Park, you Central Queensland fans, get a game. You mentioned you were both there, that Queensland derby on Sunday, Cowboys-Titans. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed actually with the Cowboys. I thought they had a little bit more to play for, but the Titans, their class shone through in the end. They are really trying to push to make this 8. I think they need to tighten the screws a little bit defensively and stop leaking as many points. They've got a tough task this weekend, and we'll have to make sure they are great defensively, especially if they lose this game, because I think it's going to come down to for and against towards the end of the year for the team that's going to make that 8th position.
The Cowboys, the Titans were dominant. The try from Tom did, and just on half-time sort of got them back into it, but that was really the only time that they looked like they got back into the contest. They had a lot of opportunities, which they blew. So I think they're creating opportunities. They're not capitalising on those, but I think defensively there's a lot of issues there. I don't think they're obviously they haven't been winning a lot of games of late, and I think if they can fix their defence up, I think there's enough points in them, but they're just chasing too many points right now.
Yeah, well, their team has chopped and changed as well. The Cowboys, again, they had Jason Taumalolo playing out on the left edge. They lost the young centre early. It was in the first few minutes of the game. Then you had a huge reshuffle. Jack Granville was playing in the centres. There are a few things that...
Yeah, they haven't had a lot of luck, but I think if you looked at all their losses in the previous couple of months, I just think they fix their defence up, they'll be in the contest.
Yeah.
What about that shift you mentioned there, Sammy, Jason and Taumalolo? I think he looked lost on an edge. Like, he wanted to get involved, but he couldn't get involved. He couldn't find a way to get involved. As someone who's played that position, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if it's maybe something that Todd Payton's trying out for next year, because I know that Chad Townsend coming into that team is going to create opportunities for his edge back rowers. So I don't know whether he's giving him time out there right now to see how he goes with it. They just need to create some more opportunities around him, bring him into the game a little bit more, maybe mix up a few different players. But I'd love to see him also take advantage of some short sides. He's got some fantastic footwork. He can create a 3-on-2 down a short side with some footwork. He's got great enough passing skills, and whether he doesn't feel comfortable enough passing pre-line, he can pass post-line as well. He's got a great offload on him. So, it's on Jace to pick those sides of his attack up. But I'd love to see, especially Drinkwater working with Jace a little bit more and bringing him into the game.
Yeah, I don't think second receiver suits him. Like, I think he's someone that needs to get the ball off the 9. He can still do that going down a short side.
Yeah.
But he did look lost because he's used to getting the ball straight off the dummy half.
Yeah.
And the other day, he probably had the mindset, and I think we'll get to Fifita in a minute, but similar, where he was premeditated.
I've got to play 80 minutes. Yeah.
So I'll pace myself.
Yeah.
And you don't get the same level of impact. And new position, he's starting to have to think, as you would know, playing edge and middle. You got to think a lot more in defence. You get a lot of shape thrown at you, and you got to think not just about hitting with contact. You got to think about who am I on and where have I got to go to once they pass the ball. So, I think it's you're weakening one part of your area of your team to strengthen another, and I don't know whether that's going to work for the Cows.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys actually confirmed he's got a fractured hand again, the third time this season.
Same hand.
He's had 2 separate fractures on different hands.
2 fractures.
And so he's fractured one of them for the second time. I don't know exactly which one, but they're not drinking enough milk up there or something. Is there a dairy farmer shortage in Townsville?
Well, they used to be sponsored. It used to be Dairy Farmers Stadium back in the day.
Lockie would have played there, I reckon, Dairy Farmers.
But is it too hot to drink milk in Townsville?
Milk was a bad choice.
Well, except for Clearer milk at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, that's it.
But just last one on Cowboys. One of the positives was Val Holmes returned from that injury he suffered during State of Origin at the same ground at Seabus. What did we make of his return? Are we sold? Is he the fullback moving forward?
Yeah, I'm still unsure, to be honest. I think he was a little bit clunky still. And I thought, Hamiso really played some fantastic football there. I know he's injured at the moment, but, I'd love to see them push and pursue that next year. We all know that Val's a fantastic winger. And even if you just give him the ability to roam, if they are going to be tacking down a right hand or a long right edge and he's playing on the left wing, let him get out there and swing in behind and do what he wants. But I'm still unsure. He's got time to work on it for the rest of this season and a long pre-season ahead of him as well. So I'm sure they'll sort that out soon.
Look, I think Drinkwater's best position is fullback.
Yep.
I think Val Holmes, when he goes to that next level, like rep level, I think fullback's probably not his best position, but he could definitely play, a good role as an NRL fullback. But if you're bringing in Townsend and Dearden, who I think's he's a great kid with a wonderful attitude, and I think he's just looking for that little bit of confidence, and that'll come with some wins.
Yeah.
But I think it could work that if you played, like you said, if you put Val Holmes, played him maybe in the centres, and give him that ability to roam like Turbo did at Origin. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think he can do that. But I still think if you're to put There's 5 of them. Yeah, Townsend, Dearden, Drinkwater, Holmes. So there's 4 that we're trying to fit into 3.
Yeah.
I think maybe you look at Val Holmes playing in the centres, but let him roam.
Yeah. Play him in the left centres. I don't know. They like to attract.
Well, Hammer's got to come back, and he probably plays mostly left.
Yeah.
But look, I think there's going to be times next year where Todd is going to experiment with it.
Yeah.
And I like Drinkwater at fullback. It takes the defensive workload off him. He's been caught out recently having to defend so much in the front line. But the halves at the Titans are a positive for them. They've got to fit 3 into 2 at the moment. Toby Sexton's been killing it with Ash Taylor, 3 wins in a row. But now the captain, Jamal Fogarty, comes back from injury. What do you do there?
Kick off at training. It's the only way to settle it. It is a hard one. I think, to be honest, it's hard to change that winning formula. And what do you like? Do you keep him? Do you keep Fogarty on the bench as a super sub in that 14 jersey, and come on to cover a little bit of football, or maybe come on later in a half to play an extra half type of role? I think Ash and Toby have been doing a great job for him. They won their last 3 games. With that halves combination, and it's always hard to change a winning combination, but they do have a tough task this week. So I don't know whether you go with experience or whether you go with a winning combination. That's why I'm not a coach.
Well, I think what's happened is because Fogarty's not there, Ash has had to become the dominant voice.
Yep.
Even though Toby's natural game is to direct and give, I guess, get his team organised. I think Ash's game's, it's looking better because he's taken more control of the team. I agree. I think when you've won the last 3 games like you have, they've got a massive test coming up against the Rabbits.
Yeah.
But I think you bring Fogarty, you sort of take the view, bring him back into the squad, start him off the bench, and I think you'll get an opportunity. But at the moment, I wouldn't try and fix what ain't broke.
Yeah. It's actually, they didn't play too bad against South last time. I think they scored 4 tries in the first half.
Yeah, they were unlucky not to win that one,
It was a weird game. I think they lost 40-30. A lot of points scored. And I've spoken about it a fair bit. If the Titans can fix their defence, they can beat any team because they can definitely score some tries.
Yeah, they're currently in the top 8. They're in 7th spot at the moment. Their run home is Rabbitohs, Storm, Knights, Warriors. 2 very tough games, 2 very winnable games. What do you think? They've got to win those last 2 to get into the finals?
Yeah, definitely. And if they do lose against the Storm and the Rabbits, they need to make sure it's not by big margins. And we've all seen what the Rabbits and the Storm have been doing to teams this year already, putting some points on. So it's, again, I go back to defence, and the Titans need to make sure, if anything, the next 2 weeks work on that.
Well, I think most people would say that Storm, Panthers, Manly and South are the 4 that can win it.
Yep.
Outside of that, no one's really given much of a chance. So if those teams that are out of those 4 want to make a statement the next couple of weeks, Titans is one of them. And this is where they're going to find out where they really are at in the competition. And, it's a huge test for them, but they're playing with confidence. So I guess we'll know more by the end of the week.
And they've got the massive carrot in front of them. They'll be the only team that will play a home final if they make the finals, because the competition's in Queensland.
Yeah.
They'll get a game at Zebra, so no other team will play home finals.
Well, they went on a run last year too. They won their last 5 games leading into the end of the season as well. So, I don't know, might happen again.
And the $1 million question is literally worth $1 million, David Fifita there. Do you make him play 80 minutes to get value for money, or do you keep doing what you're doing?
No, I don't think. I think it's working what they're doing at the moment. It's a lot less stress on David and what he's doing. I think, he's within his first 5 carries, he scores a try every time he comes on now off the bench, and I think it is working for the Titans at the moment. So again, if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it.
Well, it's a similar thing to Taumalolo, right? You either go 60 minutes of high impact, high quality, as opposed to 80 minutes where they pace themselves. It's the same with Dave, right? And whether they start or not, if their price tag's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
If getting the best 60 minutes out of them, it means they start off the bench.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It comes on, the game's had the sting taken out of it, and therefore he's going to be more effective.
Yeah.
So just because you're starting off the bench doesn't mean you're not worth as much, in value in terms of dollars and what you can bring to the team.
It's actually more value for money.
Yeah. Well, again, you're getting 60 minutes and you're giving him the best opportunity to have an impact because he's coming on at a time when the game has lost a bit of its, intensity.
Yeah.
Like John Plath used to do back in your days, come on and win the game for the Broncos in the 90s.
Yeah, Mr. Fix-It. Yeah. Plathy would argue that he wasn't on $1 million. But,
maybe across his career, 10-year career.
That would have been a lot of cigarettes Plathy had if he was on $1 million. But he is a wonderful... he was like a 14.
He was the ultimate super sub. If I think of super sub, he comes to mind.
He's probably... the best 14 the Broncos have ever had, and you would argue that there's not too many better in the NRL over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the Broncos, improved performance again against the Knights, even though they came just short. What did you guys make of that game?
Yeah, I think a couple of softer tries, I think, in the first half. Mitchell Pearce, we all know Mitchell Pearce has got that left foot. I'm sure they would have watched it on the video. He pulled out the left foot and ended up scoring a try. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. But they showed some real fight and determination to stay in that game. Broncos teams of the past 2 seasons would have let that game blow out. And it was really good to see that they gave themselves every chance and opportunity to get back into that game and maybe even win it. So, it's really good to see some of these young guys develop and they're getting better and better each week and growing in confidence. And, they got to continue doing that for the next 5 games.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think it was really pleasing to see them show some fight when they were down. I think it was 28-8 at one stage, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was good to see them fight back from that position because that hasn't been there the last couple of years. I think it just, in the end, just a reflection of the contrasting spines. And I'm not talking about talent, I'm just talking about experience here, like Ponga and Tessie Newey.
Yeah.
Mitchell Pearce.
Well, that was their best. That was Newcastle's best spine they've had all year.
Yeah. So, and they just came up with some key plays at the key time. So, I think from the Broncos' perspective, they can sort of look at the positives out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the shining lights this season, Kobe Hetherington. Where does his future lie? Definitely contracted for next year, but he's been a boom forward this year. Pat Carrigan comes back from a knee injury. How does Kobe fit into the team, or does he just have to bide his time on the bench?
Well, again, he might be that number 14, that super sub, or you could leave him out there in that lock position. He's played a lot of dummy half in the past, but he's probably too tall to play dummy half now. It'll hurt his back. Bending down that
must get his height from his mother.
Yeah, not from his
old man's not that tall.
Not tall at all. So, I'd love to see him stay in that 13 position. We've seen that 13 position kind of evolve probably over the last 2 seasons where they are a hard player. They do tackle hard, but they become that kind of link man as well with the halves. You look at a Victor Radley, you look at a Isaiah Yeo from the Penrith Panthers as well. I can see a little bit of that in Kobe Hetherington, and I'd love to see him grow and develop in that space. Paddy Carrigan showed us in the past that he can play front row, he can play minutes there as well. So it's a good problem to have at the end of the day.
Yeah, Kobe picked someone up the other night against Newcastle.
He's got a bit of old school tackle technique about him. I like it. Yeah,
he's a hard player. I mean, at the moment he's very in that Finucane mould.
Yeah.
But
he's got to get some meat on his bones. That's it.
Yeah. But I think him and Pat, like Pat's got great leadership qualities and he's tough, brings the ball, he carries the ball, high work rate. I think both of those guys to sort of evolve their game and develop their game would be a pass.
Yeah.
So the best 13s are the ones that play tough, can take the ball forward, but then they've got a pass in their game.
Yeah.
Isaiah Yeo, Radley. So I think Kobe Hetherington's got a future at the club, and I guess it's just about developing those skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Confirmation this week too that Brodie Croft will be leaving the Broncos at the end of the season, heading to the English Super League. Albert Kelly comes to replace him in the 7 jersey. Why didn't it work, Brodie Croft at the Broncos, you think?
Yeah, I'm unsure. I don't know why it didn't work. I definitely saw him try very hard. The amount of hours he put on the training park and on the field as well. You just don't know sometimes. And, we thank Brodie Croft for what he's done for the Brisbane Broncos. And, he's got a long future ahead of him in rugby league. So he'll continue to work, and I'm sure we'll see him back in the NRL at some point in time.
Yeah, he's a great pro, Brodie. Like got a great work ethic, works extremely hard in his game, and I think he'll enjoy Salford from the perspective of less expectation and pressure. At the end of the day, I think it just came down to that. Kevy identified that he needs an experienced halfback that has a really good game management, can kick well in general play, and obviously Reynolds can. So at the end of the day, it just came down to that. Kevy, wasn't, I guess, willing to wait to develop the halves that are there now. He wanted to get someone like a Reynolds to teach the rest of the squad how to win footy games.
Do you think one of the factors was he's come from the Storm, totally different setup, totally different role to what he had to play at the Broncos? Like, you had all that experience at the Storm, Cameron Smith and the like leading the team. He essentially was just a role player there. You come to the halfback of the Broncos, you've got an inexperienced team, you had to be a leader?
Yeah, look, that's a good assessment, because at the end of the day, the spine around him at the Broncos were very inexperienced. So a lot more pressure goes onto him, and I think that's not easy to deal with. But I give him credit, because he's it's not like he's imploded. He's still done his job and to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
Now, looking forward to next year, we know Adam Reynolds is coming. If you've got your crystal ball out now, who partners him in the halves? Is it Tyson Gamble? Is it Albert Kelly? Is it Katoni Staggs? Is it Billy Walters? Round 1 next year, who's the 6 alongside the 7 that's going to save the Broncos?
Yeah, I'd love to see Tyson Gamble, to be honest. I think he's been playing some great footy this year, plays with an energy and enthusiasm, and I think his style will partner well with Adam Reynolds. So I'd like to see him get first crack, and I'd like Kevy to maybe invest a few weeks in that as well. So time will tell. It's definitely a long off season, a long pre-season, and I'm sure there'll be many experiments going on at Red Hill over that time to see who's going to partner him in the halves.
Oh yeah. Look, I think it'll not chop and change, but I guess with all those players involved, there'll be times where you have trials and you'll experiment. But I think Katoni Staggs is a gun right centre.
Yeah,
agree.
So I think whoever fills the 6, it's just whoever works.
Put a line through that then. No 5'8" for him for now.
Well, look, I'm not saying that can't be done, but I just think, I look at. Steve Reynolds couldn't play 6. Well, he probably could if you asked Pearl, but he was such a strike left centre for the Broncos. I think Katoni Staggs that.
I think with Katoni at the moment, we just want him back out in the field, and we want him healthy and fit. He's a couple of knee injuries over the last couple of seasons, which have held him back a little bit. So let's just get him out there healthy and fit first. And
Make sure you stay tuned. Wide World of Sports, 4 games live and free this weekend on Channel 9.